Do you know what I mean? Just Bayer Leverkusen 2, West Ham United 0. What a disappointing result in the end. I'm not going to apologise for going into the first leg with lots of hope that we could get a decent result, take it back to the London Stadium and do them at our place. I believe we could do that. I was hoping we could do that. I just had a feeling we were going to do it as well. And to be fair, after 82 minutes, it looked like we were on the way to getting that decent result and taking it back to the London Stadium. Because while Leverkusen dominated, there's absolutely no doubt about that. We'll get into the match itself, and I'll be taking your comments in the live chat as well. I don't think they created a clear-cut opportunity. They had lots of shots, but they were from distance. A lot of them were outside the box, and they weren't even reaching Fabianski. A lot of them were getting blocked by their own players, our players. And we were 10 minutes away from the tactics working. However, this is what, if there's a game sort of to some extent that sums up David Moyes, it's this one for me. Because before the game, David Moyes was asked in the pre-match press conference, like, why do West Ham, when under pressure, get big results? And obviously the journalist was alluding to, I suppose, some of the Premier League runs, because we've had plenty of big games and we've come over it with a 6th place and a 7th place finish, and we've avoided relegation comfortably in the end. But also the European games, we've won the final, we beat Sevilla, we beat Lyon. So what is it? And David Moyes' response was something along the lines of, I think it's a bit of my personality, I think it's a bit of my character. And last night, I think you've seen that. You saw sort of Moyes' ball to full effect. And it was 10 minutes away from working. Had that finished 0-0, I'd have sat here and I said, well done, Moyes. Bang on. We got what we needed. We turned up. We needed a draw. We've got the draw. We're back to the London Stadium. Let's go. But it didn't work. We lost 2-0. So we were close to it working because of a little bit of Moyes' personality and character and style. He went on to say something else. I forgot. But it was something about the style that we play. But because it didn't work, we've lost the game because of David Moyes' personality, character, style. Does that make sense? It nearly worked, but it didn't. We had one shot. And on one hand, there's a bit of me that says for 80 minutes, we performed really well. Defensively, we were fantastic. I thought some players had a really good game out there for West Ham. I think every player tried and gave 100%. It just wasn't enough for a lot of them. But on the other hand, we didn't lay a glove on them. And it was disappointing. Because during the first half, a couple of times, that one time Antonio ran by Tan, gave it to Kudus, and I think Kudus should be doing better. I'm not going to lie. I think Kudus should be taking a touch and getting it into a better position to take that shot on. But you saw Antonio dominate Tan. Oh, here we go. Here's something. Didn't see it for the rest of the game. Whenever we broke, it was more Kudus taking on 2 or 3 players and a fourth guy tackling him, or the first guy to go and get him back and getting a second go at it. He was just crowded out, Kudus, but he was the only one travelling with the ball. I thought Paqueta was poor for 90 minutes. I thought he was just not there. He wasn't at the races. Not the first time I've said that this season. I thought he was poor against Wolves as well. And it was disappointing. But I'll be honest with you, when Lucas Paqueta got suspended for the second leg, so he got his yellow card, and when you're in the game, you get a bit frustrated. You think the referee's on one, don't you? But it's probably a fair booking, all in all. So during the first half, I was thinking, if we had Bowen instead of Paqueta last night, I think we'd have been much better. I think we'd have had that attack. We would have had that threat that we just did not have whatsoever. So I understood the tactics from David Moyes last night. I just think we gave them a bit too much respect. Because I'll be honest with you, Leverkusen weren't as good as I was expecting. They weren't as good. They had, like I said, plenty of shots, 33 shots. A shot every 3 minutes is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We sometimes have a shot every 13, and that's on a good day. But a shot every 3 minutes is a bombardment of our goal. But like I said, Fabianski made some good saves. But I wouldn't say there was any top-class ones. There were ones I'd expect him to make, like the one from Grimaldo, for example. TV save, that phrase, it's maybe a bit harsh, but you know what it means. It looks really good, but actually, you'd expect the goalkeeper to make it. I'd expect Fabianski, I'd expect Inang to save that. Good height, just not far to the side of him. I've seen Fabianski I thought he made better saves against Wolves, for example, at the weekend. But the defence stood tall for 83 minutes or whatever it is, and 2 set pieces done us, and it's just deflating. It really is. I'm still holding on to a bit of hope. But it's just out of love for the game, West Ham. And I think if you don't have hope, it's what do you have in football, really? My head, though, says we're practically out of that tournament. I'm hoping that we can get an early goal next week, but it's difficult to believe that because of the lack of squad. We've got no Emerson's going to be a huge miss next week. Paqueta will be a miss, but if he plays like last night, not so much. Bowen hopefully will be back, but if not, it's going to be tough. Edson Alvarez coming back is a good thing, but it would rely on us scoring in order for us. Talk about state the obvious here, but for us to do anything next week, we're going to have to score early doors. We're going to have to be 1-0 up by half time. And I think if we were playing other teams, that hope would remain. Because if we were to role reverse it, if the first leg last night was at the London Stadium, we won 2-0 and we went over to Leverkusen, we know what we would do. We would park the double-decker bus and say, come on then, we've got 2-goal cushion here. What are you going to do? We're just going to make this difficult. And you might get through. I don't think Leverkusen are going to do that. Leverkusen will come out next week looking to make it 3-0 on the tie early doors. They're going to look to kill that off quick. And I think that's where we're going to struggle next week, because I think it'll be maybe not a complete copy and paste, but I think you'll get to see a copy and paste from Leverkusen. I think they will play the same way. I think we will have to play differently. But I guess that's a bit of the problem, really, because we've seen us do well when losing, but that's with Jarrod Bowen, Lucas Paqueta and Emerson in the team. This season, we have failed to win without Lucas Paqueta starting a game. Fact, we haven't. So we're going to have to do, next week, we're going to have to do something incredible. We're going to have to beat Leverkusen for the first time. Maybe they'll lose on Sunday, but we might have to be the first ever team to beat Leverkusen. We're going to have to do it by more than one goal. We're going to have to beat our own record this season, which is the 12th of April, that we've not won a game without Lucas Paqueta starting. We're going to have to beat that. So now we go back to what Moyes said yesterday, a bit of my character, a bit of my personality. Well, this is where we're going to need something from you to come up with something new that involves players that you don't necessarily use. Because what we can't do is play them next week and bring in Ben Johnson for Emerson and Nate Vergeerd for Lucas Paqueta, because they're the players he uses. And he's going to have to turn to either Danny Ings, Divine Mabama, or Maxwell Cornet and get something up the other end of the pitch. Even if Bowen's fit, he's probably still going to have to play Bowen, Kudus, Antonio, plus one other attacking player in order to go and get that win. But I think the London Stadium, listen, I still think the London Stadium will be good next week. I think people will turn up with a little bit of hope, just a little bit, but with a lot of support for the boys and say, right, come on then, we're going to go out, let's go out fighting, let's go out swinging, because we didn't do that last night. But like I said, we were 10 minutes away from getting a good result back to the London Stadium. So on one hand, for 80 minutes, it worked. But this is how I always sum up David Moyes. The football ain't great. But when it works and when we get results, he sort of justifies it. If we were to go on and finish 7th in the Premier League this season, I'm not saying we will, but if we did, I'd say, well, I haven't enjoyed watching the football, but it's worked. We've had a really good result finishing 7th. And last night was a bit of that. Had we got 0-0, I said, right, one shot, it's not very good, but we've got the 0-0, really good result back to London Stadium. That is David Moyes for you. But the second it stops working, the second you stop getting results, that's when it becomes a bigger problem compared to perhaps other managers who play attractive football, because it's not enjoyable to watch and you ain't getting the results either. I think Moyes needs to justify how we play via results. It has to be sort of cold, if you like. And yeah, I'm just deflated after last night. It's not just the result, it's also Emerson and Paqueta getting booked as well. And like, I just had I had hope. I had belief. Forget hope. I had belief last night that we were going to get a result. And, in the 80th minute, I thought, well, yeah, we're going to do this, actually. We're possibly going to do this. But I think Xabi Alonso got his tactics right, wore us down. And then in the 80th minute, whatever, started doing these substitutions, bringing on Hofmann and Boniface, and both of them going on and scoring and winning the game for them. It worked. But everybody knew Leverkusen were going to have a better bench than West Ham, so much so. If I could call it in the preview, I'm pretty sure anybody in football can call it, which was they were always going to have the better bench because we don't have one. When I seen Ben Johnson come on for Kudus, there was a bit of me that went, oh, really? He's the only one travelling with the ball. He wasn't great, Kudus, but he was doing what he could, which he was afforded very much. It was just a bit frustrating to see us not really lay a glove on Leverkusen. Like I said, if we got 0-0, justified, but we didn't. So it's Frustrating. Is it over? I think it looks very unlikely. I've seen it done before, but it only happens once a season, maybe at best, where a team turns around a result like that and goes through. I just hope that they win the league on Sunday. They all get pissed. Half of them get injured. Come back to London Stadium. But if we get an early goal next Thursday, that place will be rocking. That place will be rocking. It's just, do you believe we can get the early goal? I'm not sure, because I think Leverkusen will be looking for that early goal as well. But frustrating. Anyway, let's turn to the live chat and see what you're all thinking. Get your comments in. If you've already commented and I haven't clicked up on the screen, put it back in again, because for the next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to be seeing what you guys say. Morale says, don't get me wrong, this is always going to be a very difficult tie. However, lack of squad depth again has killed us. Copy and paste the 2021-2022 season when Frankfurt beat us. Foxes or Screamers are asking about Moyes' tactics. When has it ever worked? Well, we're still 7th in the league, in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, won the Conference League, semi-finals. But I would argue it's been successful. Like I said, you don't have to like it, but I think results-wise, it's been successful, in my opinion. Daniel says, we're now relying on players he hasn't been willing to play. January decisions are haunting us on the night Skamaka scores a brace. Paul doesn't think Leverkusen were all that good. I don't think they were that great either. They were efficient, and they were very sort of had the game plan, stuck to it, and got their goals, but they didn't blow us away. Statistically, you look at the stats, of course, it'll say that we did, but you have to take into consideration that's how Moyes wanted to play. I'm sure he would rather have not faced 33 shots and had a few more for ourselves. But in terms of the possession swing, for example, that's not a shock. That is what we expected last night. Chris says, did we all enjoy that? It was a farce. Moyes needs to get on his park bus and drive it away from us. Percy says there's no plan B for Moyes, but he has no options but to come up. I think quite often I see this phrase. Sorry to dig you. Let me click away because I don't want to dig out Percy. I think Moyes has always got like a plan B and a plan C, and we see it quite often. You know, I don't think you can say he's got no plan B. We literally played a different formation last night. We normally play like a 4-2-3-1. Last night we played 3 at the back. So I would argue there's an obvious example that there is more than one plan. And often in game we'll switch up. Sometimes my concern is we don't switch the system or the style. We move the personnel around. But I think he often does try new things. Just doesn't always work. Not always the right thing either, i.e. bringing Calvin Phillips on at St. James's Park. That was plan B. It was just wrong. Bobby says to go into a game and play for a draw or a low loss is unforgivable. Be happy with a draw, sure, but not to play for a win. Disgusting. 33 shots to 1 is an embarrassment. Scott thinks Paqueta's getting frustrated in that team, knowing there aren't enough quality players beside him that he can link up with. Celtic Hammer says if Sullivan thinks this is progress under Moyes, then he needs to take a short, soft look at himself in the mirror. Adrian says Ings and Antonio front 2 next week. If it's 0-0 at half time, I think maybe from the start he's got to do something from the start. Adrian, he's got to put a lineup out and an attitude out that gets the fans on their feet. The fans will be with the boys from the start next week. I'm confident that place will be ready next week, but the team need to give the fans something from the start to keep them with them. And like I said, if it goes 1-0, that place will be rocking. Dom said as soon as Kudus got the ball, the 3 or 4 other guys on him immediately, and I completely agree. That's why it was frustrating, the lack of sort of backup for Kudus, because when he did run with it and he took on 2 or 3 players, he'd gain 20 yards, but he'd lose the ball inevitably. There was just no support whatsoever. They then just came away with it. Kudus was on the floor knackered. It was hard to watch. I felt really sorry for Kudus last night, actually. I thought he was doing his best. It's just they knew how to deal with him. Jeff said, another example of how our poor January transfer window has screwed us. Aaron Stephen says, an early goal. Moyes will set us up to keep it 0-0 and try and attack in the last 20 minutes. I wish I could disagree with that. It's hard to say that you're wrong. Yeah. Lewis says, the problem is when you're sitting that deep, it's so difficult to get any sort of attacking play going. Kudus and Antonio were trying their best, but it was a thankless start. I completely agree with that one. Joshua said, hopefully Alvarez back liberates Souček. He was incredible yesterday. Just couldn't get forward. I agree. I thought Souček had a really good game in midfield, actually. Mark says Leverkusen were good. Adam says with Paqueta, Kudus and Bowen, why can't we play like they do? It's a serious question. Nobody's saying we can't, I guess. I completely get it. I completely get it. This is, I guess, the complaints. This is a common complaint. Noel says, no, would have meant 90 minutes of low block next week. 1-0 loss, and we'd have sat mostly to defend. 2-0 loss means we have to go for it. Larry says, problem now is we get nothing out of the next 2 Prem games and go out of it. Yeah, Fulham's still a big game, isn't it? It's still a big game. Lewis said it was too passive. I would have liked us to have been a little braver, and we've blown it now. I don't think they're as good as we made them look. Our squad depth is a real issue. Can't disagree with any of that whatsoever. Tony says it goes back to having no bench. Robert said, when did you get back? What time did you leave last night? 3 in the morning. I got back, I think. About 3 in the morning I got back. I left just, I don't know, half an hour after full time, maybe, Robert. Just spoke to a few people and seen what they thought of the game in the tie, and then we got in the car and came back up the road. So I got back in about 3 o'clock, but I'm up bright and early. Gonzo, however, is hungover. So we've got player ratings due this morning. I think it'll be this afternoon because Gonzo is hungover. RJ said, come on, 3 at the back. I was allowing about you. I know that, but on paper, it's 3 at the back. How you deploy that formation is a different conversation altogether. But I just like to read a formation out as how it looks on paper. That's like why when Sky, well, to be fair, not BT, did you see how TNT, how they did it? They just 4 at the back, and then they start talking about how it's 3 at the back. But yeah, I think I agree we were defensive. I'm not saying we attacked or anything. I'm just saying on paper, it's 3 at the back. Ivan says to watch them play football, to watch them play great football only for Ward-Prowse to pass the ball off the pitch is just embarrassing. Scott wants Antonio and Bowen up front, 4-4-2, and go for it. Adam said it was the most disgusting Brexit low block football I've ever seen. I spent periods of the match on my phone. It was so dull. John says respect 500 million, only to have 11 players. Breezy said last night was the first time I felt we really missed Rice. Could have really done with his ability to carry the ball forward last night. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we missed Alvarez as well. I think there's been a couple of games I feel like we've missed sort of Declan Rice's runs from this game. They're few and far between. They're not as much as I thought they would be. But there has been a handful of games where I come away thinking, I wish we... I wish we had Declan or someone like Declan in there. Guys says it wasn't the ultimate Moyes ball. I don't know what it is. It was very embarrassing as a West Ham fan to witness that garbage. Louis said Antonio started the half by spinning chance, setting up our own chance of the night, and progressively got deeper and deeper. I know that after that run was quite encouraging. I thought we'd identified a weakness of Leverkusen we could exploit. Antonio completely done tar, and it was a good pass from Antonio. When Antonio's running in, I always get excited but like nervous at the same time. I'm like, oh no, go on Mickey, but bloody hell Mickey, just what are you going to do? Because he's got so much time to think about it. And I thought the pass to Kudus was all right. I just think Kudus had time and space to take a touch and tee himself up rather than trying to bend into that corner. But on another day, maybe has a better effort at goal. But after 10 minutes, I was thinking, hello, this could work. And then we just didn't see anything for the remaining 80. I didn't know that after 10 minutes, that's as good as it was going to get. Stuart said, had Kone had any kind of form going into this week, I would have had him playing alongside Creswell as wing-back. Scott's asking, did we leave Gonzo? Gonzo was that bad, right? In the second half, he needed to pee. So he had a pint. It was a full pint. Needed a toilet, so I held it for him while I went to the toilet, and he came back with another pint. And then when I said, this is yours, he genuinely looked surprised. As if be like, why have you just bought me? I didn't buy him one. I was holding his one. He returned with another one, and then looked confused as to why he had 2. So player ratings this afternoon or whatever, I wouldn't pay too much attention to Gonzo. That's all I'm going to say. Oliver didn't enjoy that match at all. Yeah, I was enjoying it. Well, I say enjoying it. I was happy with the result until they scored, and then it very quickly becomes a bad one. Daniel says to lose Benny and Fornals and not replace them is going to haunt us. Who are we going to play next week with Emerson and Paqueta missing? Bench will be full of kids to get up to Moyes. He's got a week. He's got a week to come up with something. Perry says we're going to win at home by more than 3 goals after Bayer Leverkusen players get drunk after. Tell you what, take Gonzo to their party. He'll make sure they've all got pints, that's for sure. Lee said, I'm just thankful our West Ham fans got to see European football 3 seasons in a row. It's all good in hindsight about yesterday's game, but the ref was a joke. Jamie said, what did people expect us to do in Germany? Go all out attack against a side who haven't lost for 41 games and score goals for fun. Some of our fans need to give the heads a little wobble. Nathan, the live show, thank you. It was. I don't know. I thought it was all right, but other people, it's the people that were there have to judge, really. But it went okay. I was nervous for it, but we did our best. That's all I can say. But I'm just pleased people turned up. Truth be told, I was worried that there's going to be like 3 people. What we would do next week, I'll do a preview with Gonzo. Fraser says, I generally can't think of a lineup where we do it with the missing. That's the problem. It's A, we're missing players, but also B, it's sort of there's no one to come in. There's no obvious candidates to come in and replace them. If we were missing Craswell, you go, all right, a Gerd can come in there. If we're missing Sufal, Ben Johnson can come in. But with Paqueta out, even Emerson, there's not really. We can have a wing back, but to play like Emerson, we ain't got one. Danny says, great to meet you boys last night, and a big thanks for putting on the event. Still 90 minutes to play so far from home. Danny, thank you very much for coming. Much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the event. You didn't say you enjoyed it. You said it was nice to meet us, and thanks for putting on the event. Didn't say you enjoyed it. Sometimes what people don't say is much as what they say, but hopefully you, regardless of the result, hopefully you had a nice evening. Noel said a bench of Kerr, Fornals and Skamaka would have rivaled Leverkusen's bench. Aaron says some of our fans blame Paqueta. Reminds me a child of last season. Few putting the blame on Declan. I don't know if anyone's blaming him such. I think Paqueta had a poor game. I'll say it. I think Paqueta had a poor game. I think the tactics probably doesn't help him. But there was at times where I thought he could have held the ball up a little bit better, distributed it a little bit better. And I think he had a poor game. I think he had a poor one against Wolves on Saturday as well. But the thing with Paqueta, with players like Paqueta, I always think that they'll be all right. Like Fulham on Sunday, I think Paqueta will be good in that game. I have belief that it's a one-off. I appreciate that's 2 games in a row. But I have belief with players like Paqueta and Bowen and Kudus and Alvarez, if they have a bad one next week, I'm not worried. Their form doesn't tend to be a prolonged period of underperforming. So I'm okay with them. I'm not okay with them having a poor game, but I'm okay with them playing against Fulham on Sunday. Gamu says it's a game where we have nothing to lose. Moyes won't set up defensive. Bowen will be back in Alvarez too. His place will be a melting pot. They won't like it one bit. I've still got a little bit of hope next Thursday. I've still got a little one. Richard said it sets up next Thursday very nicely. Moyes knows the low block won't work and we have to come out fighting from the start. RJ says, can't disagree with many of the comments from the subscribers. That lack of ambition in our play that does his head in. You can see that annoys the players as well. Robert says, I thought that Paqueta should have been taken off when he picked up his yellow card. He was really in the game. I don't disagree. Dom said he enjoyed the live show. Didn't see me, but he's seen Gonzo at the end. Wonder if he would have met him. He won't. He might do, actually. He can remember stuff like that despite being drunk, but nah, probably not. Stuart said Paqueta was frustrated, isolated, and wasted. Mark said Leverkusen are an example of a superbly coached team. Wanda said if we beat Fulham, then we should rest main players in second leg. Not one that I want to sort of suggest. Jacqueline said it's possible for us to come back from this, but it'll be like climbing a mountain because Leverkusen are class. Just playing Bowen will be back. Davina said we gave Leverkusen far too much respect. Universal Ben says if we get knocked out, we would have been beaten by the best team in European football right now. However, score the first goal next week, anything can happen. Steve said next Thursday would have been tailor-made for Paqueta to showcase his talents. Full team had fancied to do something, but not now. It's all over. Thunder and Joy said West Ham were excellent last night. Anyway, I'll start wrapping this one up. I could be here all day, but I'll start wrapping this one up. I'm deflated. I'm disappointed with the results. I think we've got a mountain to climb next. Like I said, I still hold hope, but it's not. There's no logic. I can't sit here and justify why. And hope isn't belief. It's two different things. Belief is you think you're going to go on and do something. Hope is that you hope something happens. I don't have belief. If you think what's the probability of us being in the semi-finals, it's a very low percentage, but I have hope. And if we can get an early goal next week, and I say early, in the first half, if we can go 1-0 up before half-time, that place will be rocking. It'll be really good next Thursday. But I just don't believe that we're going to do it with those players out. It doesn't mean I don't want to do it and I won't be supporting the boys or anything. It's just logically, I just don't think we're going to do it. With Paqueta out, Emerson out, a big question mark over David Moyes. 0-0, I would have been right up for it, thinking we're going to do this, but it's not. It's 2-0 down. I think, it's just too much to do. Even 1-0, I'd have been okay with 1-0. I would have been all right with 1-0, because when people are speaking about how we're going to have to go and attack Leverkusen, I think we would have done that 1-0 down. I think we'd have came out last week and attacked them next week, sorry. But I think even if we do have that mentality, I just don't think we're going to do it. I think Alonso, we saw last night, actually, when it went 1-0, again, let's flip it round. If we went 1-0 up, we would, even at the London Stadium, if we went 1-0 up at the London Stadium in the first leg, we'd have shut up shop. We would have done. We'd have parked the bus. We'd have had Paqueta off in a gird on, and we'd have shut the shop up and tried to get a 1-0 win to take over there. Leverkusen didn't. They went 1-0 up and tried to go get that second one. They could smell blood and they wanted that 2-goal lead. And they got it. I think they were deserved winners. There was only one game in it. They absolutely dominated us. Moyes' tactics worked for 80 minutes, but as soon as they got the breakthrough, that was it. There was no comeback. There was no. As soon as Leverkusen scored, I didn't think, oh well, we might. It was done. We were never going to get back into the game last night after Leverkusen scored, and I think this is what's sort of a bit deflating this morning, whereas the belief's been sucked out of me a little bit. It's just, football, I've seen everything happen in football, but we're now going to, like I said, next week, we're going to have to break our own record of winning without Paqueta and be the first team to beat Leverkusen this season. We could still win and go out. And that's what's disappointing. I don't think when we got beat by Frankfurt in the semi-final, because of us conceding in the 90 seconds at home or whatever, I didn't really feel like we had a chance. And then obviously went over there, Crespo got sent off. We didn't really have a fair chance. We didn't get going. And I think there's an element of that with me about the game at the London Stadium on Thursday, which is because we're 2-0 down. And they're still a bloody good team. They're going to come out and try and put that tie to bed before half-time. And I just don't think we've got a chance to go through. But like I said, a glimmer of hope remains, but it's purely because of hope. It's just hope. The London Stadium will be alive. Moyes needs to get everything right. And Moyes could get everything right and we could still lose next week. It's going to be difficult. Is it impossible? No. Is it likely? Also no. Deflating. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. We'll be back later on this evening with our Fulham preview. Big game on Sunday, because while obviously the talk will be last night's game of European football, there's still an opportunity to qualify for European football next season. However, us in Liverpool have dented England's coefficient hopes. So like 8th place getting European football is not as likely as it was this time yesterday. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to Hammer's Chat, and I'll catch up with you later in the Fulham preview. See you then.